suffer from my art. Now it's your turn.
So we had to start with some technical difficulties, but that's okay.
Well, that's what the world is these days, isn't it?
Absolutely. How are you, Cyril?
I'm good, but no technical difficulties. I have speech impediment that suddenly appeared, but no technical difficulties.
Just having a
I'm
sip
just
of...
trying to wonder what language I'm actually speaking anymore, because they say that language evolves, but I came across a word the other day that just was like, what? And it's phrases raw dogging. I'm like, raw dogging? What's that? I thought it was just like, to me, it was just the early inception of it was like having sex without a condom.
Right. Yeah, that's the traditional.
Right. But then now it's like, I'm going to take a flight and raw dog it. Like, what's that mean? What does it mean?
It's unfortunate. It means, this is like a new TikTok trend. It means taking a long flight with no headphones, no book, no movies, no music, just sitting there in the seat for, you know, a 5-hour flight. And then people post it on TikTok to get props for doing that, for, you know, sitting on their asses and doing nothing.
Wow. I mean, I've had those flights where I had my bag stolen before I got on the plane.
I mean, you know, I've had headphones die on me, in-flight entertainment systems not work. I mean, at one time or another, we've all had to raw dog a flight. It's just an unfortunate use of terms, I think.
Yeah. Why does every sort of a word have to sort of describe every moment of your life as being something sensational? Can't you just be? I mean, to just sit and be.
Right.
That contains a lot of options and a lot of, you know, there's a lot of crazy energy buzzing around in there, but you just go and grab one rope that pulls you in one direction. You pull it and a bell might ring.
Yeah. And the funny thing is people are like making videos of themselves raw dogging on the plane, which is essentially them just sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah. So weird.
Interesting.
The other thing that I came across was that, you know, I read an article from Chappelle Roan, who's this, her album is sitting #2 in the charts.
Yes, I saw.
And she's right under Taylor Swift. Sort of come up. It's been a slow burn album for a long time. She got 25 million.
Quite quickly, right?
Yeah. And then, you know, I remember wishing to be sort of, not that I ever wanted to be famous, but I just wanted my band to get some traction. And then when it got traction, we started to get attention. And then that was like half of the course. You want that attention because you want to be invited to get interviewed. Right. And it kind of helps promote the music. But she's complaining about the fact that the fans are getting too touchy-feely. And I understand that we live in a world where people can kind of get that bit closer because of social media. But don't sign up for the gig if you're not comfortable with it.
I mean, I agree. And anyone that has seen her, and I'll put a picture of her up on the screen, this is clearly a person who dresses to attract attention.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, I'm sure that the whole fame thing is much worse now in this instant social media, internet age when everyone's got a camera. You know, I'm sure, you know, you experienced it before cell phones. I mean, you still get recognized now, but at the peak of the madness, you know, there wasn't social media, there wasn't cell phones.
Yeah,
so I can imagine I can imagine it's a little bit different. I had one little taste of it. Just, you know, as a producer, I've always been behind the scenes, but Boris and Beck were on the cover of DJ Magazine one year when we did the National DJ Expo. And that was strange because I was at the convention and the episode or the issue for that convention had our picture on the cover. So, you know, we had people staring at us and coming up to that's the only time I ever really experienced that. And it made me a little uncomfortable, but then again, I never signed up for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think so it's a weird being thing. A baby. What do you think?
Well, maybe, but I can't mean, I don't want to criticize her because I'm not
Right.
in her position, and I don't know. I know that my fans, or fans, are very, in general, very respectful. They come from a different generation, mostly, where they
Right.
kind of respect each other's personal space. But
Mm-hmm.
maybe this lady's
Yeah.
fans just feel that there is no fourth wall, that they can just march right into your headspace and say, "Hey, take a picture with me."
Or
So
the,
they
the
can
people that
post it.
run up to people and do the automatic selfie without even.
Yeah.
You've seen that, right? Where people run up and just take a rude selfie with some unsuspecting celebrity.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. The old school's definitely different. I remember an interview with Geddy Lee from Rush. He said at the end of one tour, he was exhausted. It was the last date of the tour. They were in Germany and they were going to take a vacation, he and his wife, and they were in a car and they were scooting out the back way after the concert. And there was a big group of fans there. And he said he turned around and went the other way and then spent the next 200 kilometers feeling guilty. And so he said from then on, he made the decision that anybody that approached me respectfully and wanted a picture or an autograph, he goes, I was going to give it to them, which I think is nice.
Well, I mean, because there's, doing that gig, when you come off stage, you're just like everyone else. You're like a person milling around at your own backstage door. So these are just people that want to say hello. And over the years, I've recognized a lot of the people that they're not just it's not just a weird experience. There's some very truthful moments. It's very loving, I think.
Yeah, no,
And
it's amazing.
we as a band have definitely adopted that. Sometimes
you
there
guys
are
have
days.
always, I've never seen you guys be anything but gracious to fans.
Exactly. There are days where you're a little tired and you're
Sure.
frightened that you might not be able to put your best self in play, but at least you can go out and say, sorry, I'm really tired. Or if you've got a cold, like you don't want to shake hands to pass the germ on, or indeed catch
Or get
a
one,
cold.
right?
So we're like kind of a little, in the winter, that's a little bit more prevalent.
Right.
But it's just the center of the universe and social media. The people that have their own Instagram accounts think they're going to get more hits, more this, more. But like we are with this podcast, if we talk about famous people, the center of the universe has kind of like warped into this. Has it become disrespectful of human dignity and personal space? And is that
Quite
what
possibly?
Chappelle is
Quite
talking
possibly.
about?
I mean, I don't know what this girl's experiencing because I don't know anyone that, well, it doesn't happen to you, right? Because your fans are older and more respectful. I don't know. That's a really good question. And I that's something I'd like to know more about. Like why this person who obviously spent all this time trying to gain fame dresses to attract attention is all of a sudden rejecting it. There must be a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's got to be two reasons. One of two reasons. Either she's a little brat, or the fans now are much more intrusive and don't have the manners that some of the older fans have. So
in fact, brat now is something completely different than being a brat. Apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because she obviously dresses to be noticed and to get attention. You can tell from her picture, her pictures, the way she carries herself and stuff. So it's an interesting thing to finally gain that fame and then immediately resent it.
Yeah. I mean, I empathize in some ways listening to what you're saying because I was pretty shy. Hard to believe, but I was pretty shy coming up. And I felt that I went on stage almost to hide behind this character.
Right.
And I enjoyed the attention I got without actually being me. I could be this guy. And then as I've gotten more mature and more comfortable in the role, I allow a bit more of me out because I understand that the audience is a million me's or 1,000 me's right there. So you communicate in sharing the same vulnerabilities and fears and whatever. So that's something you grow into. But
and you see these terrible paparazzi, right? And the way they torment big stars. Like when I lived in Los Angeles, for a while we lived on Westmount, which was right at the corner of where Earth Cafe is, which is a huge celebrity hangout. And we would literally see these guys. They drive up almost onto the sidewalk, running people over, jump out of their cars with cameras like a SWAT team because Paris Hilton was sitting there.
Yeah,
So you wonder if the fans if those fans she's referring to, having grown up seeing all this paparazzi culture on TMZ and social media, if they're behaving that way in some regards.
Yeah, suddenly they're paparazzi, and it's,
do you know what I mean? Like, and they're behaving like intrusive paparazzi, where, you know, the older fans are not going to do that. You know, I mean, I've been with you in recent years where, you know, someone walks up and says, "Are you Cy Curran?" And it's all very respectful and you're really nice. But, you know, if people are charging at you with cameras, you know,
I wished.
It's interesting, you know, that's a really good,
you know, the other
really good question.
Yeah. You're like when you're in LA. Well, I remember when I first used to go to LA and you'd go into a convenience store, it'd be like Star Maps.
Right.
I'd be like, Star Maps? It's kind of eerie. And then I kind of understood that if you were a fan of the old day movies, like this is where Judy Garland was this, or so-and-so, Greta Garbo. But now it's all about, this is where you're going to see Brad Pitt. This is where you're going to see Angelina Jolie or whoever's famous. And that is that's a bit creepy. And so it kind of gave birth to the culture we're in. It just shows this. I keep going on about it a lot in a lot of the podcasts, this cult of personality. And I think that as we're doing this podcast and I'm talking to you as a guy on the street, because that's what that's what I want to be. That's who I am. And we're buddies and we just talk in our conversations like we would. And that's healthy. And we can sort of like bring back this sort of level playing field of what it is to exist and share a moment.
Right.
You know? So that's what I'm getting at.
Look, I was starstruck when I met you. You know, but not to the point where I would run up to you with a camera and get in your personal space. I mean, the first time I met you when I was going to do the remix, I mean, that was a bit of a moment for me. But then, you know, as we get to know each other, you know, that, you know, calms down quite a bit. And here we are 25 years later and we're just buddies. But I get it. I mean, you know,
I thought you just banged your head on the door before I came in.
Why? What do I got?
No, because you were starstruck. And I said, "Oh, you had a bruise on." No,
I was starstruck. I was a huge Fix fan, 80s, you know, growing up on the 80s music. And, you know, when I moved to New York, before I got my break in production, I worked at Manny's Music. And that was a place that every famous musician came into.
Great place.
And you had to be calm and cool. Like they didn't put up with. So Henry, the owner, I was always very good about it. So he would, in the keyboard department, that's where I worked, he would bring me all the famous people because he knew I wasn't going to, you know, be embarrassing. And, you know, he walked Todd Rundgren up to me. Yeah. And, you know, those were got me huge influence on me as a young musician. Yeah. Pete Townsend, countless, Bruce Hornsby, countless people. He would walk them up to me, introduce them and say, "Take care of them." And, you know, that took some practice not to show any reaction, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, in a music store, all musicians are equal. And in fact, you're in the hands of the guy who knows more than you about the new gadgets.
Right.
I mean, I remember going in there trying to get like a new DX7 or an SPX 90 back in the 80s. And then the guy showing me what it can do. And I'd be like, "Oh, great. I'll have two of those. Can do it in stereo." Yeah,
no, that was a good experience too, you know. But again, older fans, you know, there's a new generation now, and who knows what this generation of fans is doing to this young lady.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of. It's just a weird time to come up. People are stressing big time because everything is politicized. You can't say anything. You can't even fart without it being sort of politicized. You know,
well, or considered rude in a crowded room.
You know, it's just not like that guy, Lepetamine, who was. You remember he was famous in the late 18th century in Paris.
You got to remember, Si, you're much more well-read than I am. I'm not as, well, I'm not going to lie, I'm not familiar at all. So,
Well, this guy would go on stage and fart as an entertainment, and he would warm the crowd up with a few soft little quiet ones. And if you're like me, I laugh with farts. It makes me laugh. It's like a schoolboy humor. It's scatological. But then
because you're a 14-year-old at heart.
Yeah, and then he would go on and talk about it, say, I bankrupted my parents as they were trying to sort of unscent my rectum, but it was an impossible task. And this guy became famous. So you can imagine my delight when I downloaded, this is my favorite app. My grandchildren love me, and then I know when they're growing up, when they start hating me, but it's...
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's a whole button of fart.
Yeah.
If I'm in a bad mood, I just put that on.
You really are a fucking 14-year-old, maybe 12. At what point do guys start liking girls? That's what you are. Is that like 12, 13?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're a child, yet you like girls. So,
yeah.
But, I got to be honest. I'm exactly the same, I mean,
this guy. So I wonder what he was like with his fans back door. They'd be like, "Oh, can I get your autograph?" His view of what he was doing, he was obviously spoofing himself up in the most, vernacular of human activities, a fart. It's like you can't do anything more base than that. But singing on stage and saying, hate, 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 fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, is a kind of those are vocal farts. And Mike, you're just putting hate and bad smells into people's minds.
I mean, I would probably prefer that to some of the live acts I've seen in recent years.
Yeah. Well, are you sure they're alive?
That'll remain nameless.
Yeah. The stench
That's crazy.
The stench of an act that should have died a long time ago.
I think that we can celebrate a new low here at I Suffer for My Art. Now it's your turn.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that conversation.
Yeah, well, I mean, to flip it around, I was really pulled into a very warm and hard spot. But we had that comment from
I have it right here.
Called Justin. Do you want to read a little bit of it?
Yeah, I have it. I've actually printed out a couple of VCBs, viewer comment board.
Yeah.
And this one, this particular comment struck me too. And I immediately sent it to Cy because we didn't expect comments like this when we started doing this. And so this, really quite nice. But I'll go ahead and read the comment now. Hello there, Cy and Doug. This podcast has brought me much joy in these past few weeks. I've been trying to navigate many difficult feelings and observing both of my parents' health decline in recent years. And as I see my father slowly start to slip away from a disease that is very similar to dementia and Alzheimer's, I begin to worry that one day I will inherit the same condition and start to forget all the people and places I love. I was always wondering when my midlife crisis was to hit, and I guess this is now. Any words of wisdom you could provide about how to accept these kinds of losses would be much appreciated. By the way, Cy, I still have a little handwritten note you sent me with the superseded EP, and I look at it from time to time when I need to smile. I'm still here working on my book and still hope to send you a copy when it's complete. Thank you, Brother Sagittarius, from Justin.
Hey, Justin. Firstly, I just want to say thanks for the note and good wishes. And I can totally relate, and you have my deepest sympathies from where you're at. I'm sure a lot of our viewers have similar stories to tell. I mean, I can remember sitting with my dad when after he'd had his hip surgery, he bled out too much and he never really came back that lucid. He was about 80 and the dementia seemed to become a little bit more apparent every day. And then I suddenly realized after a conversation with him where he was saying, you remind me of my son. You're a very nice guy. And I've been talking to him for about half an hour and it kind of broke me inside. But at the same time, I kind of felt, wow, is this what's going to happen to me? and the sort of the vulnerability of how, because his mind was like, he was a powerful guy when he was with it. And luckily, my mother, I share some of the genes from her side, 98, was still lucid till the day she died. But the way I got some comfort from it was to remember the good things and the moments and know that life is very vulnerable and, you can blow the candle out at any second. Sharing it is the beginning of feeling some comfort. So, Justin, I hope you get some comfort from knowing that other people, a lot of people are going through this, especially at our age. How we think about it, where do we go in our lives from here? Who's going to take care of you when you get to that point? If you get to that point, so many things. And then you wonder when you take that out into the world and you see what is Social Security, what is Medicare, where's the support group, where is the safety net? I mean, we've been so entitled our whole lives thinking, oh, I'm not going to bother saving up for a rainy day. I'm just going to have sunshine my whole life. And then all of a sudden, boom. And it breaks my heart to think that there are some people out there that can't really afford the care that they need, or they're just alone, didn't have kids died young, don't speak to their kids. There's a lot of vulnerability out there. So we do need to come together as comfort groups. And I would like this kind of little endeavor to reach out into that sphere for some people, because I'm getting comfort from it. Yes, indeed.
I mean, that's a great comment, Si, and great comment from Justin. And boy, you reach a certain age and life really does smack you right in the face. You spend your youth and younger years thinking you're invincible and you don't think about these things, and then one day you're hit with this reality.
Yeah.
And
But it shouldn't make you bitter. That's the one thing I want to stress, is that, yeah, it will hit you. And there are some painful things coming down the tracks. But if you can keep your dignity and keep your smile on your face, it will really help. Because if you turn bitter, it's not going to make the situation any better.
No, and you'll just be miserable, Good stuff, Si. I got a couple others if you'd like to jump into them.
Go ahead.
There's a couple, one that I think is really good. I'm actually a bit curious myself. This, I don't know the person's real name, but their YouTube handle is Mart57FUL. But he just says, great conversations. Thanks. Can I please ask Si how he felt when he came out on stage at the Garage in London for the first UK gig for 20 odd years?
Wow. Well, I thought I was stepping out. Yeah, I thought I was stepping out into a dream, to be honest. I was incredibly nervous, as I was way back in the early days when we were unknown, stepping onto a stage in England. And to sort of come back and see this venue rammed, solidly packed with fans that knew our stuff was really incredible. And I'd share, the feelings with the rest of the guys, the band. We were just like, whoa, finally we made it in England. Just a little bit too late for my mom. She just passed away last year, didn't see it. But regardless, it was an amazing experience. And, just there were certain deep cuts from the album where I'm singing and putting the mic out and the audience is singing the words back to me. It was really, truly heartwarming.
There's no feeling quite like that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Felt proud to be English, because we'd always made it in America and we were always trying to get traction in England in a big way. But I think the slow burn that we've done now, to be still standing and filling a room now, so much more sweet. We probably would have wasted it had we had it back then. So nice one.
Well, you've often said to me that if because we talked about the Live Aid situation.
Oh, God.
And you often refer to, you might not be the same person now had some of those experiences happened.
Yeah, sliding doors. Sliding doors. I think, twice the man I used to be with half the time left in front of me. I'm going to try and use that time wisely. And I know we have 5 more UK dates coming up in this December if Rupert manages to stay on the sidewalk.
Yes, he's got to be careful.
I sympathize
with him after my injury at the concert. a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago. I'm finally
How
not
is
in
that?
pain anymore.
Good.
You know, it
Nice.
took forever. Like I had to get this compression band. It's not here. I'd show it to you, and wrap it around my foot, and that helped. And then I stayed off of it for a couple days, but I sympathize with that, man, because all I did was take a step, and that's what he did, right? He just stepped wrong off a curb, and he
That's when you
sustained
say
a very serious injury. All right, so we also have we got some really nice comments from you guys. I mean, this is really great. I can't, and I'm going to try to keep up with them the best I can. We're starting to get a lot of them. If I miss your comment, it's not a diss. I just missed it. We're going to try to address all of them through this thing until it, unless it becomes completely unmanageable.
Right.
But we love to read them, and they're fun to address. And here's one from Kirsten. Say Bolt, Cy and Doug, thanks for another fun episode. Keep them coming. I look forward to each one. I love the rapport you have with each other and the connection you are building with your audience. She makes a comment about breakdancers in the Olympics being surprised it was a sport, but then she asks, as a Fix fan, Cyril, any surprises in store for the Florida-Mexico dates?
Well, we'll be standing on stage without the aid of any supports. I don't think the break dancing is going to be coming out anytime soon. And if I told you of any surprises, they wouldn't be a surprise now, would they?
She does right here, do tell. And I think if somebody says that, you're obligated to tell.
There'll be no surprise in knowing that we'll be pouring our hearts out and enjoying every second of these shows, because
when is Mexico? I might have to go to that one.
It's on election night.
Oh, that's right. It's in November.
November 5th at the Western Resort Festival in Cancun. I think it's called Beaches or something. Or there's a 4-night festival.
Oh, so is it a festival with a ton of different bands every night?
Lots of bands from the 80s. And so we're headlining the Thursday night. And there's thousands.
So it's not going to just be a greatest hits set.
No, but it will be a shorter set. That's what they want to keep it vibey and lively. And
right.
The surprise will be that it will be red, and I'll be, and a couple of the other guys will be hiding from the sun, so they'll be their stoic white.
Can I be like the backline guy for that show, for that festival, or one of them? I mean, I know you got a couple young guys that do that. They can just order me around just so I can be there.
Yeah, our tour manager says he's packing twice, which is like one bag will take care of his immediate needs, and the other bag will be just in case he decides to stay south of the border after election night. I'm not going to say anything else.
No, we don't need to say any more than that.
No, because we don't do politics.
With that, there's one more comment here I want to bring up from Painted Torso. It's a cool name. She suggests that maybe we perhaps do an official cooking segment.
Well, you mentioned that. I would like to do that.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. Here's one I prepared earlier.
Yeah, you do like a Julia Childs thing where you do the prep and then you pull a finished one out of the oven.
You notice when they stir, the bowls are always like immaculately cleaned around the outside. So they go, that's the cake mix stirred in like magically in 2 stirs. I'm like, you're kidding me? It takes a half an hour of whipping to get that texture. Here's one I prepared earlier. Yeah.
Maybe I could actually learn something, because not much of a cook.
Yeah, that's what my dad used to say about children. He'd go, here's one we prepared earlier.
So thank you for those comments. If I missed another, there were a few other comments, but not really questions. And thank you for those. But if I did miss your question, I apologize. I'm trying to keep up.
Yeah. Are we getting sponsorship from that water bottle company?
Probably not. I think their spring has been cut off.
If they're not paying us for you to use that on,
I have to put tape over the thing. I heard that couple of my friends said that this water is terrible, but I don't think it is. Well, that spring, there's a big legal thing right now where they're cutting off this spring. Did you read about that?
What's terrible?
Arrowhead?
Yeah, there is something in it. There's lead in there. Arsenic.
Really?
Yeah, we stopped using it.
Oh, fuck.
But it took 2 liters of shit water to make that 1 liter of good water in the bottle, because the
Debbie bought like
plastic.
5 cases of this.
You'll be all right. You'll be dead before the effect of what's in it gets you.
Dump it in the pool.
There you go. Counteract whatever else is in there.
Right.
Yeah, there's a thing about water and plastic bottles. It's like the boys around the house here have got stainless steel cans.
Yes.
They look
I've
like
heard about
fire
that.
hydrants. I'm like, how much water can you drink in a day?
Where do they get the water that they put into those?
Well, we use tap water, and we have this thing called a Berkey. Remember, I had to have it delivered to your house because they wouldn't ship it to California.
I remember.
Right. So it's basically these carbon filters. You put in tap water, and the tap water in Santa Cruz, not great. It's like on the scale of whatever they judge particles of water. This one's at 300, and 60 is already not good. So 300 is like, it's California water is like you've pissed it out and it's back in your glass within a week. So you filter it out through this Berkey. So we have this 5-6 gallon container, and it filters it, and the water when it comes out the other side is like amazing.
Did you have me commit a felony?
Yeah.
By having that shipped to my house and me sending it to you? Why couldn't you have it in Cali?
I don't know. They kind of figured it was there's something in California that stopped them being allowed to do business here. But there are ways around if you've got friends all over the world.
Yeah, I guess so. I remember it's a pretty big thing too, right?
Yeah. All you had to do was slap a new label on it. And
no, I know it wasn't a huge inconvenience. I just remember when it showed up, I was like, holy shit. What is that? I was afraid maybe you were trafficking.
But at least it wasn't
cocaine.
It wasn't fake watermelons with meth in them.
No, thank goodness.
You see that in San Diego, wherever it was? 600 kilos of
Yes, I did at the border, right?
Hidden in like fake watermelons.
Wow.
The human mind.
I would think that the dogs could detect that, really, because that stuff has a very strong smell, doesn't it? I mean, I've never.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't think I've ever really smelled it, but it's all weird chemicals, right?
Yeah, the dogs probably went, that doesn't smell like a watermelon.
Yeah, exactly.
To me. Well, as far as I could say, get 600 kilos less of meth off the streets is a pretty good thing, because I see some very sad, poor cases out there that,
Oh, yeah.
It's like jumping out of a plane without a parachute, that stuff.
I've been, I don't know how it came up, but have you ever heard of Slab City?
No, was that Baltimore?
It's in the desert east of San Diego. And it used to be a Air Force base. And it got its name because they evacuated the base, but they left these concrete slabs. And so hence the name Slab City. And it is the last place in America where it's lawless.
Yeah, I have heard of this.
People live there. It's completely off the grid. There's no police. They kind of police themselves, but they've got libraries and coffee shops and restaurants. And there's a huge, huge population of, admittedly by them, of meth heads and meth addicts.
Oh.
And so I've been watching a few of these YouTube videos. It's really interesting.
That's amazing, actually. It's almost like there's Roswell, there's Slab City, and then there's Baltimore, which is like, I don't want to
they
diss
police
anyone
themselves
in
like
Baltimore.
if they find out, for instance, that you're a pedophile, they'll burn your camp down. I mean, and run you out. It's like sort of self-policed, and so you get all these YouTubers going in there to explore it, and by and large, the residents are open and talkative, and they'll be completely honest about what the lifestyle is there and how they live. And I found it pretty fascinating.
It's like Breaking Bad colony. Maybe
a fixed show at Slab City.
I don't know
about that.
I do remember doing a show in El Paso in 1983 where we were staying in a Hilton hotel where the restaurant was going around. It was one of these rotating
Oh, yeah, I've
hotel
seen those.
services. You remember they used to have those? And there was
Yeah.
a really beautiful waitress that had served me many glasses of iced tea because I kept thinking of ways to get her to come back to the table. And I invited her to the show, and she said, "Hey, let's go out for a drink after the show." So she picked me up backstage, and we went in a pickup. And all I can remember is we were driving down a normal road for about 2 seconds. She handed me something that I smoked on, and then we were just driving across the desert.
She went into
It
Mexico,
felt like
right?
hours.
Isn't that right on the
Felt- I don't-
border?
And then we turned up at this shack in the middle of nowhere where there was all these red curtains and there was music, and we went in there. There were just sort of hedonists hanging out in hammocks and like, "Hey, man." And I was like, wow. And this girl was pretty amazing. And I had no idea that she sort of had that lifestyle. And then we sort of partied for a while, and I begged her to take me back because I started to worry.
Yeah,
that I
you're
was gonna
lucky to end
disappear.
up in a bathtub full of ice missing your kidneys.
Yeah, but she
You
told
know?
me that I'd smoked some kind of mescaline dipped weed, hence the fact that several hours of time just sort of vanished off of my consciousness.
Wow.
And I do remember, like, a part of me, my little Jiminy Cricket on my shoulder, like, "You fucking idiot, you're going to get back to the barns."
Let this be a lesson to all the kids out there.
Yeah.
Even though our average viewership is 55 to 75.
Yeah, people remember.
Don't go to strangers and just take the drugs. I think that's like the first thing that your parents tell you is don't get in a car with strangers or take anything that they offer you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, really.
Didn't apply in the 80s.
Yeah. I remember that kid who's just sort of like swapped a gas mask from his friend for his transistor radio at school, and he's walking around with a gas mask, and he comes out the school gates, and there's some weirdo guy like, "Hey, little boy, you want a sweetie? Get in the car." So he's like, "Oh," and he's talking from behind the mask, and the guy's driving, and the little kid turns around and goes, "I think I should tell you I'm not really a welder."
What is that from?
Someone
What-
joke.
Oh,
It's just like you just reminded me about.
it's a very British joke.
It is.
What makes me laugh is your reaction to it, not the actual joke.
Yeah, well,
which is true of many of your jokes.
I mean, ways to keep yourself laughing.
Oh,
I've got many. I got one little. No, I can't say it because it's just there's human dignity involved. But
right.
Oh man,
Is there though?
There's so many stories. It's dignity. Isn't that a small dinghy, small boat that they hang off the back of a boat? Dignity.
Yes, it is. All right, Cyril. I think on that note,
what do we got? We got some serious guests coming up.
We do have some serious guests coming up next week. We are going to tape 2 episodes with 2 very special guests.
Yeah.
But we'll probably air them like we do normally.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we're going to get busy. We're going to professionalize this outfit. And we're going to get serious.
Yes, we're very busy.
Introduce our loyal and true to an outside of our heads and get somebody else into the conversation a bit.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. Right.
Because,
because you've resorted to fart apps. So
help.
Here we are.
I do need help.
I think it's time that we, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's there's
I hear Abby, I hear my cat crying.
Just feed the damn thing.
No, that she has food sat there always.
It's the wrong food. And they're very finicky. My puppies are always like, we found some food they like, duck. They were allergic to chicken. A lot of pets, fun enough, are allergic to chicken because of the kind of chicken that ends up in their food is not great to begin with. It's loaded with trace antibiotics and growth hormones and this, and it really fucks with the dog and cat's kind of well-being. Oh. Now, duck is the least messed with bird because the hunters are out there. What do we do with all these duck we've shot? Hey, sell it to the dog food company. So they
Oh,
raising
we
these
give
dogs.
our cats freeze-dried chicken all the time. I wonder
Yeah.
if that's why they're so weird.
Try and look in. There's a company called Arcana, not getting sponsored, but saying Arcana, they have a really good duck pellet product and it has grain in it. Apparently, it has to have a little bit of grain for these things so that their intestines keep alive. Use that, and it's made difference with adult guys. Perfect poops. You can pick it up with a toothpick. It's like, oh,
Again,
you don't need a scoop. Did I say something too much?
No, it's fine.
I'm very scatological. I'm sorry. British people tend to be. Well, in my band, we're very, as my mum used to say, pipi caca. You know.
Absolutely childish.
Yeah, that's the way it is. All right, mate.
All right, Cyril. So anyway, yeah. So everybody, thanks for watching and stay tuned for some really cool guests coming up.
Yeah, and send me that package.
Yes, I will. IOSI package. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Cyril, good to see you as always.
I love you, Doug.
Talk to you later. Love you, buddy.
See you.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.